The idea of solitude can often bring a lot of discomfort to many individuals, but this construct doesn't come out of nowhere. Since the hunter and gatherer days, we created communities in order to survive. The means to survive were slim if we didn't. So your reaction to solitude isn't unjustified or isn't invalid because it's a survival mechanism. It's just kind of evolved throughout time. But if we kind of look at this in a big scope of things, right? That was in the past. We kind of have to look at it in the context of now. If we look at the idea of stress, if we look at the idea of solitude, the meaning behind what and the gravity behind what these things entail are completely different to how it is now. If we are not within our community, that does not mean we cannot quote unquote survive, like it is our food, like it is our water. So, how are we able to really coexist within these boundaries? I want to kind of talk about how solitude is actually great and how it can actually be something that we can nurture in our lives rather than walk away from and try to push away as if it is a negative or frightening thing. Let's talk about it. So I want to begin by first defining the difference between alone versus being lonely, because I feel like those definitions can be often mixed up. Definition of alone is to be on one's own or having no one present. The idea of lonely is actually being sad or being affected because you have no companion and rather being solitary. So they're very, very similar and very, very intertwined. But I guess to put it in simple terms, loneliness is when you are being affected by being alone. So, with that being said, why does this matter to differentiate loneliness versus alone? I think it's important to understand this because I first want to challenge people to see where you stand. In your life, do you believe that you stand more in the category where you just believe that, yes, I am alone? Or do you believe that you are lonely in your solidarity? And I think from there we have to navigate through how we are able to kind of find different perspectives and viewpoints and ways to navigate through our solidarity. Now, if you kind of found out that, yes, I feel lonely, that's okay. With that being said, how are we able to find comfort in being alone if we are lonely? I want to start off actually with a little bit of an anecdote, and that was actually something that my teacher has said to me one day in class. I remember I was about to do a presentation. I was actually representing my group, and I was actually really, really nervous. And I remember my teacher, before my presentation, said in front of the whole class, shift your nervousness into anticipation. That shifted my mindset completely. And I remember I aced that when I shifted my mindset and decided to anticipate what was to come for my presentation, not be anxious over what I had to do for my presentation. That is something that I want to apply from what I'm about to say right now. And that is, I feel like a lot of people really put down the idea of solidarity. They are either really anxious about it, right? Because it's like, OMG, I'm alone and I need my companion and, you know, someone to complete me, fulfill me, or even just not that, just like, I want these new experiences, this new life, and I'm missing out, and all of those things. And in that case, those things exist, and I feel for those people because, yeah, we all crave that connection in that sense of life and adventure. And I know that there are people who exist who value those things as high pillars. So in no means do I judge that. However, I actually want to challenge and maybe inspire some of you to kind of take some of that anxiousness within you on the future and like what you need in your life, and change that into anticipation on each day on what you can fulfill in exploring yourself. Now, I know that sounds so strange to some people. They're like, what do you mean by exploring myself? I probably know myself. I live within myself every day. But you'd be surprised by how much you can find out about yourself. And through this, I want to speak about the lessons that I personally learned and what it actually brings to the table. And here they are. The first thing I feel like solitude can really bring is knowing yourself. Now, I feel like this one is super duper important. As Socrates said, know thyself. It was said for a reason. And that quote has so many reasons on how it can be interpreted. But here are some of the things that I feel like you can learn. The first one that I think that you can find peace within yourself is how you can understand that it catalyzes self-growth within yourself. When I had time to take a step back and understand who I am, right? And this doesn't have to be like, oh, I sat down for hours thinking about who it didn't work that way. It was literally like, oh, I just went through my day and kind of did my own thing and worked on my passion projects. And through those little things, I started to grow and understand who I am, learning what I wanted in my life, learning what I valued in my life, learning all those things, etc., brought a lot of fulfillment, but it also was very helpful for me because it allowed me to function as a stable, healthy individual. Second thing was actually creating boundaries. Now, this one kind of functions in knowing what you want, knowing what you don't want. And I started to understand what I wanted in my life. And this one was very helpful being alone, because I get it. Some people can be like, I can know what I want in my life with people, and that's true. But sometimes I feel like there can be a lot of peer pressure that can happen when you are around other people, which can muddle your viewpoint. Sometimes having that alone time can really help you process what you want. And I think that's why it's something that you can find comfort in and something that you can find joy in through the process to grow in love with the idea of solitude and ride in the journey, I guess. So all in all, that kind of encapsulated the idea of knowing myself, knowing my own boundaries, and knowing my boundaries that I even put on others. And I feel like through that, it kind of placed me in a more assertive and confident individual. And for that, I feel like I'm a happier person. The next lesson is loving yourself. Now, I get it. This might be something that a lot of people might be saying, might be obvious, but I want to talk about this one because this one is something that I don't believe is perfect. In fact, I feel like sometimes this can be a little too glamorized. I don't want to sugarcoat it because when you're alone, you have to face everything that you don't want to see. I realized especially when the world took a pause, I distracted myself a lot. And when I had to look internally, I had things that I needed to fix. Those were some things that I had to really look internally, really needed to figure out within myself. And it took a lot of energy and it takes a lot of time. But I feel like if it wasn't for that, I feel like I might have just still went through that same routine, same distraction, and wouldn't have that time to really explore and really understand who I was. Loving yourself is not loving a perfect version of yourself. It's finding acceptance and finding understanding with yourself and being able to grow and being better for it. So in that sense, I feel like that is something that I've been trying to do. Accepting myself more and being better to myself and overall just working on myself. Those are some things that is not going to be an easy process, and it's definitely going to be hard, especially in the earlier stages, because once again, being alone often makes you see a lot of things in front of you that you're like, oh dear. But I feel like, once again, that distraction-free zone is important. And I bet your bottom dollar that if you take that time, there is a potency that you can grow better out of it. At the end of the day, it's this mentality: do you choose to be fixed or do you choose to grow? So I do understand that this is something that won't be rose-colored glasses, because some people who might look upfront at them might just run away from it. But I think that the important part and the comfort that I want to bring is that, once again, it's the time that you allow yourself to grow, and it's the period of time where you allow yourself to mold yourself and be able to be kind to yourself. And trust me, you're gonna be okay. Like, things are gonna be okay, because you're growing to mold yourself into being a better person for yourself. And I think that is what's important at the end. I think these pillars can really catalyze grand growth within yourself, and it's possible through solitude. Thank you so much for making it till the end of the video. Once again, loneliness is something that is hard to process and can be very difficult when faced, but I hope that this video brought some comfort through turbulent times. We are all trying to navigate through things and just process through a lot in our life, and that is okay. I hope that through solitude you can find your own pace, your own rhythm, and really seek that growth that you want. With that being said, I hope that these perspectives helped, and I hope to see your journey flourish. If you want to see more mental health content and just in general more content related of this kind, make sure to subscribe to this channel, put on the post notifications, and of course like this video to support this channel. And comment down below any of your thoughts and perhaps experiences, etc., just to let me know, because I would love to hear any of your guys' thoughts. It truly makes my day. And with that being said, I hope everyone has an amazing day. Make sure to stay warm, and signing off.